Hi Logan, this is Keaton Everett from ABC. We're going over your pitching video from the spring break camp. I'd like you to take a look at your delivery here before we go into detail and break down some of your mechanics. Pitching and mechanics is all about efficiency. It's about consistency. Just getting your arm in the same position every time to deliver the ball. Um, Breaking your hands at the same time, getting the same arm path, same leg lift, same hip drive, just all about consistency. All right. And the first thing we're going to look at is the unnecessary movement in your upper body with your glove hand. Um, a lot of guys think that bringing that glove up and driving it down creates arm speed, creates velocity, but what it does is just creates inconsistency. It's hard to time. Um, it's just hard to stay consistent with so much movement, and I'll show you why. It just basically causes you to break your hands at different times every pitch. So you have 3 pitches on this video, and we're going to mark every time we can see the ball in the first frame. So here's your first throw. All right, we'll go back, look at your first one. There we can see the ball here. Now we'll go to your next one. Now we see the ball back here. All right, now obviously you're not going to be perfect every time, but we'd like to see that those hands break, within a little bit smaller of an area. And all that does is that's just that timing. All right, that's just all that movement is just so hard to time that it causes your arm path to follow a different path every time, which is hard to get consistent. All right, so since you do drop your hand so far down, just come and set, keeping those hands still, right around your belly button, right around your belt. That's going to eliminate all those inconsistencies and time up that arm path a little bit better. All right, so that's just something you can play around with, and that'll help you out. All right, so now the next part we're going to look at is your posture and your balance. All right, you got good balance. You're back over your back leg, which is good. You got a pretty good leg kick. You might almost turn a little bit too much because it looks like your eyes go off the catcher kind of looking down here. You want to make sure your eyes are on that catcher's glove the whole time, so you can turn as much as you can until you start losing those eyes on that glove. All right, so too much movement is almost a little bit harder to time and to stay consistent. But again, you also want to be active with your hips, which you are, which is good. All right, so I'm going to mark your head, and we're going to watch how much you're dropping. All right, there's that classic um, teaching tool of drop and drive. All right, which a lot of kids overdo. All right, so you're going to watch your head. All right, watch it drop out of that box before you're starting to go forward. All right, your knee's almost at 90-degree flexion right here. We'd like you to see your head staying in that box and almost just follow the path of the hill, as opposed to dropping out and then going forward. So you just need to stay a little bit taller, because that's going to allow you to get a little more generation of power in your hips. All right, that power doesn't come from as much knee flexion we can. It doesn't come from the quadriceps. It comes from the hip shoulder separation that we're going to talk about here coming up. All right, so just try to stay a little bit taller, stay in that back leg a little bit, stay in the inside part of that knee, and that's going to get you going down the hill at a little bit better path. All right, now before we talk about foot strike and what's going on at foot strike, I want to bring your attention a red flag I'm seeing with your upper body that could lead to some arm problems. All right, you have your joint locked out here, joint locked out here. All right, in an athletic world, we don't ever want those joints locked out. All right, and what's causing concern with me is this arm angle right here. All right, that joint's locked out and it's getting really high above your shoulder, which is putting a lot of stress on that shoulder capsule. All those ligaments, that rotator cuff, it's putting strain on that supraspinatus, and those rotator cuff muscles that's impinging that shoulder joint. and just putting it at a unhealthy spot. All right. Generally, to be balanced with the body, you kind of want everything to match up on each side. So if your arm's at this angle, we want that back arm to still be down at this angle. All right. So that throwing hand is just getting too far up. It's locked down. It's just way ahead of that front side. That's putting you at an increased risk for injury. All right. So what we'd like to see at this spot is to have this arm back down here and a little bit of angle in that elbow with that ball, with your fingers on top of the ball here, and then everything starts forward. All right. So this position here is not in a healthy spot. All right. So that is definitely something that I would immediately work with to fix. All right, because that's just not a good spot for your shoulder. Okay. So once we get to that, now we're going to look at what's happening at foot strike. All right. So here's our foot strike. Pretty solid foot strike. All right. Your back legs got a pretty good angle. All right. Everything looks good through here. But what's going to happen is because we're inconsistent with our timing, because our upper body is a little bit ahead of that lower body, what we're going to see is a lack of hip-shoulder separation. So you're going to watch your shoulders and your hips, and they're going to rotate forward at the same time. All right, so the more we can get that hip going forward before the shoulders, better off we're going to be. All right, so we'd like to see the hips almost facing the catcher, and then this upper body is still closed. So we're back here at this same spot that we were at before, kind of talking about that glove out here, fingers on top of the ball, those hips are coming through, and now the upper body comes through. What that is that's a timing issue. It's also a strength issue that will become easier as you get older with age, or you get on a strength conditioning program. But that hip shoulder separation, the more we can get those hips going forward, the harder we're going to throw, the less strain we're going to put on our arm. And right here, rotating at that same time, there's a big load on that shoulder, and there's a big load on that elbow happening. A lot of stresses. Okay, so we need to work on getting that hip through first, and then the upper body. Another thing that's going to help with that is just getting that glove farther out over that front foot and bringing your chest and your body to your glove, and not wanting to pull that glove in to your body. You are releasing the ball at a pretty good spot. A lot of kids you'll see that back foot come up off the ground, so you're releasing the ball 2 feet on the ground, which is good. All right, again, we just like to see that glove about right out here, and then once you release it, then that glove can do whatever it wants and tuck through. All right, so now we'll watch that follow through. Okay, pretty good. Let that leg get through. All right, we could try to get in, and again, with that hip shoulder separation getting a little bit better, driving through that back leg a little more, you're going to be able to get to a point where you're releasing the ball instead of right here kind of over that front foot. We're going to be able to pick up another extra 6 or 8 inches, and that's going to help with our angle of the baseball. It's going to help with our breaking pitches, and it's just going to help us just get a little bit more movement on everything. So anyways, just really work on that back arm angle and fix that, so you're putting yourself up for not as great a chance of risk of injury, because we want you throwing for a long time. So anyways, hopefully you'll be able to kind of get something from this video, and get a little more consistent and efficient, and just have a great year this year. Anyways, we'd like to thank you for making it out to camp this year. Hope you had a great time, learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you again with ABC.